the paradigm shift that happens when you become a parent, and a little bit about what's the normal stress and mood shifts with being postpartum, and then what are some warning signs? When do you need to reach out for help? So that's what I wanted to focus on today.
Awesome. So that's really important, especially for new moms who have all the stress of just being a new mom, having to get into the routines of life and things all. So that's really important to talk about, like the mental health and how to manage that as a new mom.
Yeah.
So
it's not talked about enough.
It is not. It really isn't. And I think that especially with all that's going on with the COVID and all the additional outside stresses, that would be really important to talk about to new moms.
Absolutely.
So I see some new faces on here. I see Amanda Jones is here. Hello, Amanda. We have Gabby and Greg here. Hello. And we also have Rabia here. Hello, Rabia. So what I would like to do now is just kind of get into the presentation. It's funny that I just pushed record right now, which I probably should have been recording before. So this will be available to you after the recording is over. So with the presentation, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're going to talk a little bit about postpartum self-care. I am not tech savvy at all, so please bear with me. Okay, let's see if we can share this. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So here is our presentation for postpartum self-care. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about learning to mother yourself so that you can better mother your babies. All right, so here is pretty much what we're going to learn about throughout this particular presentation. The number one thing we're going to learn is what is postpartum self-care. I think that this is a kind of new phenomenon. A lot of people haven't really talked about this a lot for postpartum, because the main focus normally is the baby. Like, what is the baby doing? How are we focusing on the baby? What does the baby need? But I think now we're more so talking about, okay, yes, the baby needs help, but we also need to be mothered as well. So number one, postpartum self-care is what it is. Why postpartum self-care is so important for new moms. We're going to talk about listing some postpartum activities. We're also going to talk about how to become your self-care blockers. Like, what are some of your blockers that block you from participating in postpartum self-care? We're going to talk about the importance of creating a postpartum team. And I love this because it's really important to have people in your team that's going to help you after you have your baby. And lastly, we're going to talk about how daily affirmations can help you practice postpartum self-care. So I'm your host, Shakisha M. Uzar. I am the owner of Labor of Love Maternity Solutions. I deal with pregnancy and postpartum life coaching. I have two boys, a mother of two boys and one girl. Molly, you're going to see, I think I put that you have 3 kids. I'm not sure. How many kids do you have, Molly?
The third is in the oven currently, so that's mostly true.
Okay. So I was correct. So I'm also a published author and a women's empowerment speaker. So here's our co-host, Molly. She's the co-owner of B4 Village, Birth, Babies, Boobs, and Beyond. I love that. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist. She's the co-founder of B4 Village. She's the founder of Birth Retold Method. Is that you, right? You did do that. Awesome. And
yeah, it's not launched or published yet, but that is my birth trauma processing work that I do.
Awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
And then she's also the mother of 2, which also is the mother of 3 because she's currently pregnant. Right. Okay, so imagine you just gave birth. So the doctor hands you your baby, and then you're saying, so now what, right? What comes next? What comes after the baby hands you your baby, and then you take your beautiful baby home? What happens after that? So what happens after that is that your postpartum journey has begun, right? And so typically your postpartum journey looks like when you get home, you have, the painful body aches, you have the soreness from delivery. You also have the sleepless nights from caring for your baby. Then you have emotional strain. You have the stress of having the baby, and you have the stress of not sleeping for nights in a row, which causes you to have more body aches and more soreness after labor. So there's a cycle that kind of happens after you give birth, right? Um, I think somebody else joined in. Okay, right. So now, why is postpartum self-care important? Postpartum self-care helps you to decrease anxiety, stress, and it helps you to prevent PPD, which is postpartum depression, right? So when you're taking care of yourself and you making sure that your needs are taken care as well, you help to reduce some of these stressors. It also promotes self-love, and it helps to boost your self-esteem as a mother, which we all need, especially after we give birth. Postpartum self-care facilitates peace and tranquility in your home. It also empowers you to be a better version of yourself as a mom. And lastly, it gives you a sense of fulfillment, and it enables you to achieve your personal goals. Okay, do you want to add anything on that?
N- no, I think that's all good. I especially think that those the thought life of a new parent and the stress and anxiety
Kind of,
is yeah,
okay.
that's huge.
Okay. So if you look on this post, here's the postpartum fantasy, right? You see the mom here with the pregnant belly, and then when she gives birth, her belly is just magically flat, right? That's the fantasy. You have the mom over here who recently gave birth. She has a shirt strong as a mother, and she's excited. And you have your happy baby here. Once you come home, that is the fantasy of postpartum, right? The rosy part. But here is postpartum reality, right? You have the mom here with the cell phone ringing. She has the baby in her hand. She has her other toddler holding her clothes. And then she has the dog also needing attention. You have the picture here with the mother who hasn't gotten sleep in the last 5 hours and her baby's crying, right? And then you also have the picture here with the mother crying as well as the baby. This is the postpartum reality, right? This is what postpartum can be. Along with having a beautiful baby, you still have a lot of responsibility as well. So here are 3 ways to practice postpartum self-care. And feel free to chime in if you like, or if you have any questions. I want to make sure that I'm answering things. And if you have any comments, you can also chime in as well. So number 1, creating a postpartum team. Number 2, getting fancy. And number 3, investing in relaxation. Okay. So creating your postpartum team. Now, what is a postpartum team? Your postpartum team is essential for your postpartum self-care. Your team are the people who you can call at any time of the day when you need help, right? Your postpartum team are trusted persons who would be there with you when you need them. And what I've noticed is that a lot of mothers, I deal with a lot of single mothers in my business, and they just don't have the essential people there on their postpartum team to help them throughout their postpartum. So I always stress that it is very important that you have some people who you can call when you just need a few seconds to yourself, whether that's getting a few hours of sleep or that's just, having some me time. Would you say the same thing is true, Molly?
Yeah, I think the thing I see a lot too is that along with that, there's a lot of guilt of like, I wanted this baby, so how come I want to get, I want a break so badly, and then
Right.
feeling guilty for needing a break.
Mhm.
So, getting yourself set up ahead of time to know that there are people who are happy to be there and happy to help, and knowing that you don't have to do it all on your own to be a good parent.
That is so true. That is so true. I'm trying to convince moms, and that's a hard thing. Like, you do not have to lean on your own. You can reach out to people, and there are some people who would be so happy to help you after you have your baby. So that's
Yeah.
very true, Molly. So creating your list of needs. So a lot of moms, when they do need help, sometimes they don't even know what they need, right? And I always encourage them, like, make a list of things that if someone says, can I help you, that you can kind of steer them to, like, you can help me in this area, or you know what, the dishes are overflowing in this sink, could you help me with that? So what do you need help with? How long would it take for the person to do that, that help that you need? And then lastly, what what would make your life a lot easier and a less stressful? So if you make a list of things that you can possibly have someone help you with, then it's more better to do the next step. And the next step would be how to build your postpartum team. So that's step number one, is reaching out to the potential postpartum team member, right? Reaching out to them, maybe calling them or texting them. And then step number two, you want to, the big ask, asking them, could they help you with the certain things that you need? Step number three is that list that I just talked about, being able to direct them to some of the needs that you have, or something that will make your life a lot less stressful. And then step number four is the win, because now you have some people who are on your list and you have their contact information and they are ready and available to help you.
And I just want to chime in that I think this is really important, because when you have visitors postpartum,
Mm-hmm.
and I know everything's different with COVID, but a lot of moms report that they feel this pressure that they're entertaining. So
Okay.
they're not getting the help and support that they need. They're just making more work for themselves
Mm-hmm.
postpartum. They're thinking like, my toilet needs to be cleaned and everything needs to be spotless and I need a vacuum. And, that's impossible if you're a C-section recovery. First of all, you should
Yep.
not be vacuuming. But second of all, like, that visit does not become a time of support. It becomes a time of extra stress. And then you don't even want to see anybody anymore. So having those needs written down and specifically saying, hey, Aunt Sue, can you please come over um, to do my dishes so that I can get caught up and breathe, and that the sink can be clean so I can wash my breast pump parts. I really need that. I'm feeling overwhelmed right now, and your support would be crucial. So that she comes into it
Yes.
not expecting to just hold and snuggle the baby, although that can be nice if you can then take a nap or a shower while that's happening. But so that they're coming into it it's, the expectations are not that this is a visit that you're hosting them, but that they're there for your support and your work
Absolutely,
and
Molly.
the
And I think
service.
that's why it's important to have a list of things that you know why they're coming over, and they know
Yeah.
why they're coming over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's essentially important, to make sure that you have a reason. They have the reason to come over. And also holding the baby is, it's great as well, but especially with COVID, you also want to limit that as well. So if they are coming over to wash your dishes, you know, like, there's the dishes, there's the sink. I love you. Thank you so much, for coming over. Um, and who is on your postpartum team? So of course you have people who are the closest to you, or people who you trust. It doesn't necessarily have to be your mom or your partner or your spouse or your aunt or your sister, but just persons who you trust with your life, and you trust with your baby. Having those people who you trust and who will be able to help you. But also, another thing that I like to stress to moms is having services on your postpartum team. Like, what services could also be ready and available to help you in your postpartum, such as meal prep services, or I know a client who does Blue Apron services to help her with, so she doesn't have to prepare her own meals, laundromat services, folding services, different apps, food apps that can go and get your groceries for you and bring them to you, to your doorstep. Okay, so some of these services that are available, some of these apps that are available, can be crucial to helping you reduce your stress as a new mom. So next, get fancy. Okay, so what do I mean when I say get fancy? A lot of times, a lot of moms that I talk to, they do have postpartum depression, and a lot of times they just don't feel like doing too much of anything besides caring for the baby. So I always tell moms that you do have permission to get fancy. You do have permission to take a few moments of your day and get yourself dressed up or take a shower, which a lot of times that's a crucial thing that helps you to boost your self-esteem and self-confidence. Getting in the shower, having a warm bath, you know, putting on a little bit of makeup or doing your hair if you can, if you have a few moments. Do you have anything that you want to add, Molly, that could help?
I have to say that, especially the showering, like that to me is like not an option. And I know it's like the most common like joke of like, oh, I can never get a shower. Like, especially postpartum, if you have stitches, if you have, you know, that need to be kept clean, and all of that hygiene care. But I personally advocated for myself, and I have to say that was never anything like, you know, my husband would always know, like he'd walk in the door, here's the baby, I'm taking a shower.
Right.
And again, like usually the biggest barrier to that is our own guilt about putting our needs first.
Yes.
But the you know, feeling clean, feeling human, feeling refreshed, you know, the warm water is good for loosening up your breast tissue for lactation. It can help have a good feed right after, or a good pumping session right after. Like it's necessary. Don't skip it.
Yes.
Like make it happen. Make it happen. It's a little thing, but it really makes a big difference.
It really does. It really does. Does anyone, Gabby or Greg, or does anyone have any questions that could be answered?
Yeah, this is Greg. I did have a question about the list. I don't know if, because this is our first time going through this, I'm not sure if we know everything that we should be able to anticipate. So I wonder if like you have a starter list or like some samples of things that we should be thinking about to put on the list.
Okay, let me go ahead and write that down for you. I do. I have the hospital bag checklist. I have a whole bunch of lists, and
Cool.
I would definitely love to send that to you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? All right. So we're gonna move right along. So practical self-care. So I try to keep things really practical when it comes to self-care. I know like a lot of times you can hear like about self-love, and you'll hear some big things like going to get your nails done, going to get your hair done, but that is not what I like to focus on. I like to focus on just practical things that you can possibly do at home after you have your baby. The number one, I would say dress up, even if you're going nowhere. One big thing a lot of moms used to kind of tease me on when I had the mom groups is like, you're always looking so put together. And I always say, well, I'm not going anywhere, you know? And I think that really helps you to just boost your self-esteem and boost your self-confidence after you have your baby. The second one would be take some time to paint your nails. Take some time to deep wash and condition your hair when the baby's asleep, or when you just need a few minutes when the baby's, you know, not needing your attention right away. And the last thing I would say, put on a little makeup and take a little picture. I love when postpartum moms document their journey of them going back to kind of the normalcy body, how they take the pictures where, you know, after they have the baby, they still have the little pooch, you know, the little stomach. And then over time, you'll see that things start to phase out, and you see their body kind of go back to where it was. I love to see that documenting of the changing of the woman's body. And another one is,
I just want to jump in, and I want to say, but only do that if that's something you would normally do to feel good.
yes.
Right. Yeah. I think that one of the things I'm noticing is that there's so much pressure to have this Instagram, you know, perfect postpartum life.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's why you're doing it, if you're doing it so that everybody thinks you're okay when you really are not, it's not worth it. It's not worth the time. But, you know, do it if it's something that's going to help you feel back to normal and back to yourself. Like, I'm not a makeup wearer, as you can, you know, as you can probably tell via Zoom. So like that to me would not be a self-care thing, but like a mud mask might make me feel really good. And actually, I had just had a friend sent me they're like the paper face masks that they just pull them out and you throw them on, they slap them on.
Yes.
She gets them from this little, she's in New York in Chinatown. She gets them from this little Asian beauty shop that I can't even read the directions, but they're awesome. They're like really high quality skincare. And it was just like, you know what, that's saving that for postpartum, because that's going to be a perfect, like, 5 minutes. I could do it while I'm pumping. I can do it while I'm nursing. And it's just something that's going to help me feel grounded in my body and well cared for. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So those were some examples. There are so many ways that you can do postpartum self-care that is authentic to you. But I kind of want to give some mothers some ideas as to what they can do. Everybody's not a nail person. Everybody's not a hair person or a makeup person. But you doing things that make you individually feel a lot better, then I would definitely suggest that. Okay, and so the importance of relaxation, saying goodbye to the super mom postpartum and hello to the super calm mom postpartum. So we want to kind of get away from the stereotype of like being the super mom and like having everything put together, especially as a postpartum moms. A lot of times you don't feel happy, or a lot of times you don't feel your best self as a postpartum mom. So as she mentioned about the Instagram moms and how things kind of just snap back and things look so fancy right after you giving birth to your baby. That's not really the reality for many moms, for most moms. So we want to kind of step away from thinking that everything has to be perfect and everything has to be the way you see it. Every mom's postpartum journey is different, and I love helping mothers to embrace their uniqueness in their postpartum journey. So embracing relaxation is a daily priority, and it's a wonderful way to combat postpartum stress, anxiety, and depression, which are all real things that many moms experience in their postpartum journey.
And I also want to say too that if you are planning to breastfeed, like trying to stay in a calm place is actually also helpful for milk supply and for breastfeeding. Some stress hormones can impact milk supply, which is a vicious cycle because one of the things that most people stress out about are whether or not they're making enough milk. So
Yes.
put a lactation consultant on your support list, on your support team.
Yes. That's very, very, very important. So here are some ways that you can relax, and Molly already said it, the face mask, right? I'm having some difficulties with this. All right, so face mask, number one, body massages. And I think you guys offer that service as well, Molly, right? The body massages for the moms.
Yeah, so we have a massage therapist who is prenatal and postnatal certified, and she is phenomenal. I just saw her earlier this week for my own, for a prenatal massage because I'm having all sorts of hip and round ligament discomfort, and she's good. So she offers a really great intro rate. It's only $50 for your first hour, and then it's only $75 after that for the full hour. And like I said, she is specifically, if you're going to wherever you go, you really want to specifically make sure you're seeing somebody that is prenatal and postnatal certified.
Yes.
Who understands the changes of the body while they're in a state of pregnancy. Yeah, I'll hook y'all up with that. And she's spacing out her appointments that you have to wear a face mask. Everything's like super duper clean and sanitized. Like it's been good.
Awesome. So the next thing is the scented candles. I am a very big component of scented candles, making sure that the atmosphere is something that is conducive to your mood and everything like that, getting yourself in the mood of calm, as Molly said. Also, practice mindfulness meditation, meditating, clearing your mind of all the things that you did that day. I've always talk to some of my coaching clients about morning routines and night routines as a postpartum mom, having some things that you do in the morning to try to get you in a state of calm, and then also having a night routine just before you go to bed, trying to put yourself in a state of calm as well. I think that's very important. Then small body stretches, stretching your body, because your body is coming back to its original state. Your organs, everything is kind of coming back to where it's originally supposed to be. And stretching your body really helps that, getting you into a really good movement and getting you to a really good space. Okay. There's my daughter. You want to say hi? This is real life mom stuff.
Hi.
Say hi, guys.
Hi.
All right.
Can you eat this?
No, you can eat a smaller candy. Okay.
Aw,
Go and eat one. Go and next. Can you have one? Okay.
have one what?
A candy. Bye. All right. So moving right along. My daughter wants candy.
I specifically hold myself up in our basement, which is my husband's work from home office, so that to try to not have interruptions, because my 3-year-old would be all up my nose right now if I.
And no matter where I hide, she will find me. That is.
Oh
that,
yeah, they know when you're on the computer. They know when you're in a work call.
No, they definitely know. Okay. And so one thing that I like to do is new mama empowerment. And so I always teach my moms about the power of affirmation and the powers of I am statements, making sure that you boost your self-confidence and self-esteem after you give birth. So one thing that I like to do, if I was in a live event, I would have the mothers, recite after me or repeat after me, and we would go over things like, today I commit to unapologetically taking time out for my self-care and my self-love activities. Today I commit to practicing gratitude and counting my blessings in my gratitude journal. Today I commit to allowing myself the grace to recover and not compare my postpartum journey to anyone else's journey, which is a big one, right, Molly?
Amen. I just had to unmute myself to give that an amen. That's so important.
Today I commit to asking for help when I need it the most, right? Today I commit to taking 1 hour to focus on my goals and my dreams, which is also important. Another thing that we just implemented in our business is life coaching. So helping moms after they give birth, like what are some things that you want to commit to as far as your goals, your dreams? A lot of times when moms have babies, they get so wrapped into what the baby needs or what the husband needs or what the family needs, but that they negate their own personal needs and their own personal dreams as well. And so let me close this door because I think I hear their video game.
Yeah, all those affirmations are really awesome. And it's so hard. Like they seem really simple,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the simple stuff that sometimes gets really hard when you're feeling overwhelmed by a life change shift. So those are I just made myself a note to make sure I get that list from you, because I think it's really good.
Awesome. Yeah. So we do affirmations because I believe that affirmations are affirming truths that you might not feel right now, but if you continue to repeat them and affirm them, that they will be true for you. So we do help our moms to practice affirmations. And I do recommend it, especially when you're talking about postpartum self-care and postpartum self-love, affirming those things over yourself. So I am loved. I respect myself. I am worthy of self-love. I choose to love myself every day. I deserve to have time for myself, which is very important. Could you talk a little bit about that, Molly, about moms learning to, you said, not feel guilty about taking time out for themselves?
Well, I love to use the analogy of like if you fly in a plane, they're like, please place the oxygen mask on yourself before assisting those around you. Like you have to, if your batteries are empty, you've got nothing to give.
Yeah.
So I think it's, we especially as women, like there's a lot of society stuff that is put on us that we don't even put there, but we pick it up and we run with it. But, having to like really recognize that if you're not in a good spot, you've got nothing to give. So recharging those batteries, whatever that looks like, is is vitally important, because you're gonna burn out.
Yes. Yes, very true. Thank you for that, Molly. The next one was my goals and my dreams matter, right? I am a better mother when I am a better me. I am loved by self and therefore I can love others. I am a great mother. I am a strong mother. I am a loved mother. I am becoming a better mother each day. I love me. I respect me, and I am worthy of self love. So, this is really, really important when we're talking about self care and getting ourselves into that shift in our minds from thinking that we don't need time for ourselves to now pivoting and saying, no, this is essential. I do need time for myself, and I do need time to make sure that I focus on my self care as well so that I can be better for my child, my baby. All right, so I wanted to include, we're kind of wrapping it up now. I think I have 2 or 3 more slides left. I wanted to kind of get into some of the self-care apps that I came across. You know, we're all into the tech savvy things now, and like we have certain apps that are able to help us to get into a better space. So number 1, the app that I came across was Headspace. It's an app that kind of talks about like meditation. It has some different meditation that you can listen to and kind of get yourself into a better headspace. There's another app called Smiling Mind, which also does the same thing. There's an app that I love that I actually use myself. It's called iMindfulness. Meditation, affirmations, things like that. Very soothing, calming music that you can listen to. Another one is Mindfulness Daily. And the last one is the Bible app. It's also good. You can listen to scriptures if you're Christian as well. You can listen to that. All right. So here is one service that we particularly started in my business. It's called the Empowered Mama. And I wanted to kind of talk to you about that. I don't know if you are at this stage yet, but this is a service that is a life coaching service, and it helps new and expectant mothers to kind of get into this space of what am I doing for me? What are my goals? What are my dreams? What are some of my strengths? What are some of my weaknesses? And one of our life coaching mamas will be able to help to transition you through your postpartum to getting into the mindset of you, getting into the mindset of putting your goals and your aspirations to the forefront. And I just left this here. If you want to know any more information about this, you can go to our website, www.laboroflovematernity.com, to know any more information about this particular service that is available. So we are at the end, and here we have question and answers. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free at this time to make your questions known, and me and Molly will do our best to answer any questions that you may have. Yes.
So you mentioned you have 2 boys and a girl, and I have that exact lineup. I'm pregnant with my 3rd little girl, and
Congratulations.
thank you. My boys are 5 and 2, and I'm just kind of like, obviously I've been through this before, but yeah, I feel like balancing the needs of my existing family and myself and my new baby, that feels like kind of tremendous to me. So I'm wondering, when you were expecting your 3rd, and for you, Molly, too, like obviously you're in the same boat. So if you can kind of speak to that of like, what's your plan, or like, how did you cope with all of that?
Yeah, so one of the reasons why I'm a baby wearing educator is because I think that baby wearing is a phenomenal parenting tool.
Absolutely.
And it is especially when it's your 2nd or 3rd or whatever, you're more, not your 1st. Knowing how to effectively baby wear before baby's arrival is especially important. So many people will come to me like 6 weeks in or 3 months in, and they're just like, I got this thing at my shower and I don't know how to use it. And it's like, oh my gosh, once they figure it out, it's like, okay, if I had this from day one, this would have been so much easier. So that is my first recommendation, is that to be able to have your baby on your body, especially the first few months, that they can sleep on you. if you're, you know, you can use it to support breastfeeding, but just to be able to have your hands free to wrangle your 2-year-old or to be doing, you know, trying to do more around the house is really important. And it frees you up to give that attention elsewhere. The other thing I like to say is that the best advice I was ever given, and so now it's my favorite thing to share, is that most big kid needs can be easily met within 1 to 2 minutes. Once you sit down to your nursing session, if you're planning on breastfeeding, or if you know, a bottle feed or whatever, that's going to be 30 minutes before you're then free and available to meet that big kid need.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big fan of like attachment parenting and like trying to meet your baby's need as soon as possible, but they're also going to survive for a minute and develop frustration tolerance. If you're like, I know you're hungry, but just give me a minute. And so that you can take care of that big kid need and knock it out of the way. So that way, when you do have to sit down and hunker in for that nursing session or that bottle feeding or whatever, you're not then dealing with the testing behavior of your 2 other kids who didn't have their need met. So that, just thinking about that, having that quick conversation with myself of like, okay, can I meet this need? Like, yes, this baby is screaming in my ear, but can I meet that need within a minute or 2? If not, they have to wait. But if I can, let me do that first, so that way I can be in a better frame of mind to sit there with my baby and not have to deal with the testing behaviors and not being able to just jump up and wrangle somebody. I also like the idea of having like near you like snacks and juice boxes and like some of those things that, like, you know, 10 minutes into a feed, you can be like, yep, you know, or go grab it from the thing, and to just really lower your expectations of what seriously, about what everyday life is going to look like. If everybody has adequate food and is in clean clothing and hasn't killed each other that day, like, that's a win in my book. That's good enough. So anything extra on top of that is magic. And those are my 3 biggest postpartum tips. And it sounds to me like you might benefit a lot from some of Labor of Love's services and being able to stay on top of the everyday household stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm in California.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you, ladies, for hosting this.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
problem. I wanted
Getting
to
that.
oh, go ahead.
Getting that team in place beforehand, and
Exactly.
knowing, like, I need, I just saw this in one of my mommy Facebook groups, and I was like, oh, brilliant idea. To not just have a list of like, hey, I need you to come do my dishes, but like, hey, I need somebody to come and take my 2-year-old and my 5-year-old and play with them outside for an hour and let them run off some energy, right? To specifically like whatever you're comfortable with within your COVID bubble of like, I need somebody to come and read my kid a book, like, and color with them, or like play Play-Doh, like, just like and like seriously, so that they're feeling like they're not, people aren't just coming to visit the baby, that they're feeling like to get that attention, and for you to have that headspace of not having to be all things to all people.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of what she said. I wrote some things down. One thing that helped me, just like Molly said, is just prioritizing, like, what is immediate right now and what can wait. And I think that also kind of gets into like the supermom complex, when you're like, you have to do this, that, and the third, but like, what can wait? Is this a dire situation, or can this wait to tomorrow? Or can this wait till another time when I'm not as busy as now? So prioritizing is really, really important as a new mom, making sure that things are not, you don't have to put out all the fires at the same time. Some things can definitely wait. And another thing that really helped me, so as far as my kids, I had the first kid, my first child is 13. So that was great. But I had 2 kids back to back, so 1 year apart. So that was not great. Because like I had to change one diaper here, and then I had to change the next diaper in the next hour. So I was like doing twins, basically. That's what that was. So what I did was I started training my older son before I even had the second kid, and training my 1-year-old, like what are some self-soothing things that you can do? Like if you don't need mom right now, what are some things that you can do that can you soothe yourself so that I can take care of the smaller baby? And I think Molly, your eyes went up. Do you have anything?
Yes, no, just I think sometimes too, especially for younger kids, they need a visual reminder. So like a good pre-baby thing would be to like pictures of all their different toys. Like these are all the options. You can read a book, you can play blocks, you can build a tower, you can, you know, so that all of those, you know, it's like go look at your chart and pick, you know, pick something from your chart that you can do. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like my 4-year-old watched a lot of television while we specifically started watching My Little Ponies together, so that way it was something that I could handle and didn't want to jab a fork in my eye from watching the same like dumb kid song over and over again. And like we went through the whole series together. Every time I sat down to nurse, we'd put on a Ponies, and that was really exciting. And and then we tried to limit screen time only to when it was nursing time. So
that's
just
real.
Yeah.
That's real.
But yeah, to have those options like visually out for, especially I'm assuming as 5 and 2, I'm assuming they're both non-readers, you know, so that there is a list of activities, and so that like that you don't have to deal with what do I do?
I'm bored.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of like figure it out. Like, you know, that's not my problem that you're bored. You know, you have a list of good activities, and you can.
The last thing I wanted to talk about, like I know there might be other questions, but the last thing I would advise is to have a utility cart. They have these amazing utility carts, like at Target or like Walmart, that you can kind of put everything that you need on that cart, so that you don't have to go up and down the steps for things. Pampers, diapers, wipes, things that you need.
Yeah, and that's not just a multiple kid thing. That's an everybody thing.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a cart.
Especially if you're breastfeeding, snacks, water, the ravenous hunger of especially in the first month. Like you'll be in the middle of a feed and it's just like, I need to eat all the things. Like
so yeah, having that cart available to you downstairs so that you don't have to run up and down steps for things if you live in a double 2-level home. Any other questions?
I do have a question. I don't know if you'll have a good answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So we live in downtown Philly, and we don't have a lot of family that live close by. We do have a few people who have volunteered to step in and help us out, but it's a fairly small group. And I think we're also being impacted by COVID because people are afraid of coming by and being in the space, and you know, we're a little fearful too. We don't want anybody to get us sick or get the baby sick.
Right.
So I'm curious if you have any suggestions, knowing that we might be even more limited in how much we can rely on other people right now.
Okay, well, there's always labor of love maternity solutions. So we do have caregivers that do come out to your home, and these are we just started hiring doulas as caregivers, but we do have these are CNAs, and they come out to your home and they help you with certain services in your home. And like, we are compliant with COVID-19, so we do go out of our way to make sure that when we do come over the mom's house, that we are covered. We have gowns so that we throw them away once we leave your home, you know, sanitizing our hands, sanitizing everything. So if a person who you know would not be normally able to come out because of the fear of COVID-19, know that you do have people who are trained in making sure that we are compliant with COVID-19 standards. So that might be an option for you to look at. But yeah, I think those concerns are very valid. A lot of moms also have expressed the same thing. Like, we don't know who to call. We don't know if a person who did say that they would be willing to come out, if they would, because of COVID-19. So that is definitely a valid concern. Do you want to
even just the trust of like, you know, do you believe in mask wearing? Are you social distancing? Have you traveled? I mean, it's hard, and I know there's a lot of people who are like, yeah, we're fine, but then you can see their Facebook picture of them,
Mhm.
without a mask outside dining. Like it's just like, are you fine though? Really? Like, I don't know. I'm struggling with that myself. But I think the one thing that pops into my head, there are so many awesome things that that have come out of COVID. Like, almost anything can be picked up curbside. There's so many different delivery services where stuff can be dropped off to your house. Like, that has been a bonus that, you really can, there's a lot of those kinds of things available that you don't have to stress out about leaving your house, and things can be done for you. Which is awesome. So take advantage of those. Like, if you have people asking, like, what can we do? Like, send us a gift card, a DoorDash gift card, or whatever supermarket is closest to you that you prefer to shop at that has a Instacart or whatever, like something like that. The second thing that I would say, whether you're working from, however long you have for leave, I've been in, like, this is going to be my first pregnancy where my husband actually gets like 7 weeks off, whereas before I only got a couple weeks off, and then I was, because if I, as a therapist, if you don't work, you don't get paid. So I'd never had a ton of good leave, or we were back, I was mostly on my own because my husband was back to work. I think a barrier that I see a lot is that there's this assumption that the partner who is working outside of the home shouldn't have to participate as equally because they're working and they have to function at work. And some of that is true. I mean, especially if they're paying all the bills with their income. But if you're afraid to advocate for that nap that you need, or that, like, you just need to get up and feed that bottle of milk I pumped, because if I don't get 5 consecutive hours, I'm going to lose it tomorrow. Like to be able to ask for those things and not feel bad, and to talk about that ahead of time. Like, especially if you're breastfeeding, it is harder to give away some of those other duties, but like to set up those expectations of, like, guess what, even if you're working the next day, the first 6 weeks, you're going to get up with me, you're going to immediately get to the baby, you're going to change him while I pee, and use my peri bottle to clean my incision, and get my pads in order so that I can sit down and feed, and not have to, and baby's already freshly changed and just waiting for me, and then you get to go back to sleep, because you're it's a partnership. And also to just think of especially being a new parent as a job in and of itself, and it's one that you don't get a lunch break from, and you don't get a coffee break from, and you don't get to hang up your hat and go home at the end of the day and relax. Like, you're on the clock 24/7, 7 days a week. So to give yourself permission for that lunch break, or that and to be willing to communicate that, and in a loving way, to just say, like, I need a lunch break. Like, I need to feed myself, I need that shower, I need to go for a walk without the baby, like whatever that is, to not feel guilty to do that, even if it's just the two of you. Like, it is doable, it is possible, but I think that's the hardest barrier that I come across, is just that mental block of, like, yeah, but he works all day. It's like, yep, and so did you, and you didn't get a break, and you didn't get to turn it off at 5 and transition home. You're working all day, every day. So hopefully that's helpful.
That's helpful. Any other questions?
And also lower the expectations.
Yeah, I'm going to ask one follow-up question,
Please.
because I think I worry a lot about the loneliness. Because if, in a normal world, right, I would expect to have lots of visitors and lots of people coming over, and, moms I could go for walks with.
Yeah.
And I feel like our baby's due in a month, so it's going to be dark and cold. And I'm just wondering if you know of any, like, support groups or ways to surround yourself with people, even if you can't be together in person, to kind of combat some of those feelings of loneliness.
Totally. So that's actually a lot of what we've got going on at B4 Village. And even though normally I would say Philly would probably be a hike if it were normal circumstances, we've got a lot of stuff happening virtually. We have a free breastfeeding support group that meets Thursday mornings at 11. That's Eastern Standard Time. But Amanda, if you're up early and you want to sign up and join us, you just download our B4 Village app. You can pop in. That's one of the cool things about having everything virtually, is that you don't have to be in our local community. We do like that. We do like knowing that eventually you might be able to meet in person someday, but like we're super happy to host anybody. If you're not planning on breastfeeding, we have other mom baby options. Some of that have been on hold and we're trying to get back into the swing of things now. Trying to, it was kind of like well, we'll have some virtual things, but this is going to be over. Now that we've realized that it's not going to be over anytime soon, we're working really hard to get more virtual offerings up on the table. We have a Mommy and Me virtual music class that's launching. We have a new parent adjustment group that I'm hopefully getting back into the schedule in October. We've got a bunch of different workshops, and we offer this class that's really awesome. It's called the Tummy Time Method, and it's a 4-session class, but after you take the, and it's kind of like a parent-child interaction. The Tummy Time Method in and of itself is developed by an occupational therapist to help optimize babies' physical development. It's especially great for tongue-tied babies. It helps with torticollis, which is the head leaning preference. It helps with prevent flat head syndrome, which we're seeing a lot of now that babies have to sleep on their back. It was good for colic and digestion and helping baby regulate for sleep. Like it's amazing for all of those things. And then after you take the 4-session class, there's always a graduates group that you're welcome to pop into every week. So there are virtual things out there. So finding that to just feel like you have a point of connection with other people who are in the same life space is really important. And that's one of the reasons why we founded B4 Village. Like I was the first one in my group of friends to have a kid. And there's just this huge, everybody wants to be helpful and supportive, but you just don't get it until you actually have, it changes things. So being able to be with other parents who are right in there with you, even if it's just to ask like, hey, is this normal?
Yeah.
If I had a nickel for every time I hear that question, like, hey, is this normal if blah 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 blah, we all need to have those assurances and to know that we're not crazy and that it is this hard and that we're doing a good enough job. So I hope that helped to answer your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Gabby. But yeah, please check us out, look us up. Just about everything is virtual. And we're even happy. We also have a little boutique with lots of postpartum care supplies, which I did want to, before I forget, I had it at the end of my list, but I'll plug it in now while I'm thinking about it. We have the Earth Mama Organics line of healing balm and a sitz bath and spray specifically for your perineal area. I think I just grabbed them from the shop, even though I'm 3 months away, because those are all going to be in my hospital bag right from the start, because I think even just those physical care needs are things that nobody talks about, that you might have some tearing. Even if you don't have tearing or stitches, your whole perineal area is going to be sore and bruised and inflamed because it just expanded to 10 times its normal size to let a baby pass through. And it's gonna take 6 weeks for everything to get back down to normal, to somewhat near the normal size. And there are so many wonderful healing products that can help with all of that. So we do virtual shopping appointments, and we can either meet up locally or curbside drop off locally, or ship it to you, like Philly probably. I would just throw it in the mail to you, but well, I'm thinking of things. So yeah, those are the things that are kind of on the top of my head in terms of getting and staying connected. And I think that's a really valid concern about, combating the loneliness. It's on my list of things that I was going to talk about anyways.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Any questions? All right. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Molly. She wants to talk to you guys about mental health. And Molly, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Just hold on, let me unlock my little list here.
Okay.
I could talk for hours,
I love
so
it. I
I'm
love
not
it.
shy. So I just want to keep myself on track because I do have ADHD, and with being pregnant, I'm not medicated, so I can wander. So, so if it's like, 12, it's when it's 10 minutes of, just like, do a tap dance and wave at me so that I could stop talking. Um, so, so yeah, I'm on my third pregnancy right now. I, as a marriage and family therapist who specialized in play therapy and child development and family work, I taught people how to parent for a living before I even had my own kids. And then I had a kid. And there is nothing out there that can prepare you for the paradigm shift that happens when you become a new parent. You can have all the child experience, whether you could be a full-time live-in nanny for your whole life, but then when you have your own kid that is your responsibility, there is a mental shift that happens in your brain that you just can't prepare for. No books, no amount of webinars can prepare you for that lived experience of making that shift as a parent. And I remember for me, the moment where that hit me, and my baby was probably 2 weeks old. My husband had to go back to work already, and I don't even remember if I was about to go somewhere or whatever, but we were out of coffee. And I was like, oh, I think I'm just going to run into Wawa, which, Amanda, that's like the Wawa is its own thing, but quick food, coffee, gas, but all good, pretty decent quality for a convenience store. But it occurred to me, I was like, oh, but I can't leave the baby home. I have to take it with me, and I can't leave it in the car. I have to bring it in. So I have to carry the baby and have my purse on me and open the door and hold the coffee. And it was just this, it's not a big deal, right? Right. But it was just this real sudden realization that never, ever again in my life will I be able to do anything without knowing that either I am taking care of or somebody else is taking good care of my child. It's a huge mental shift. It's a huge adjustment, because we're just so, even if you're partnered, yes, you have to consider each other and communicate, but you still have a pretty good assumption that they can feed themselves and clothe themselves and know how to run a washing machine if the clothes are dirty, and can survive for a week without you if you need to go away. It's a totally different frame of mind. And even just that in and of itself is something that can hit really hard, and it hits people at different times. Amanda, I was seeing you shake your head a little bit of oh yeah, that's a thing. And it's a process that you really can't prepare for. So along with that, postpartum, there are a series of several hormonal shifts in your body. The first thing that's going to happen is just your body is shifting gears from all of that baby making hormones to rapidly grow a human in your body. And as those start to drop, there can definitely be a big mood component that goes into that. It's also I remember, especially with my first, having just the most joy I've ever experienced in my life. And then an hour later, just this overwhelming sadness from my birth experience of feeling alone and powerless in those moments. And I was oh, this must be what it feels like to be rapid cycling bipolar. That is the most intense joy followed by the most profound grief and sadness within the span of 24 hours. It's really crazy. And so when I work with moms prenatally, we talk a lot about getting ready for that mood roller coaster. to expect it, to know that it's normal. It's a normal postpartum experience. But just because it's amplified by hormones does not mean that it's not a valid, real emotional experience. And I think that's an area where a lot of couples get into trouble, is that sometimes those experiences are dismissed as like, oh, you're just hormonal. But yes, and just because it's amplified by hormones doesn't mean that it's not a valid concern or a valid experience. So riding that roller coaster in the first 2 weeks is kind of normal and expected, and being immersed in those hormones and those pheromones as a partners can experience those mood shifts as well. I'll have a lot of couples who'll be like, we got into the worst fight ever. And it's like, we've wanted this baby so much, we're home, everything's great. And, we just had this knockdown blowout argument. And it's because, yeah, you're both riding that hormonal postpartum roller coaster. Having a baby brings up family of origin issues. So like whether or not you had good relationships with your family, or that whatever their neuroses and how it impacts you and your relationships. It brings up past trauma, whether that's physical body trauma or emotional trauma. It can bring up, it can heighten anxiety and depression that maybe was already there. It can do all of those things. So this is a very, very sensitive time for mental health adjustment. And it's, you're more at risk if you already have a history of anxiety and depression, or other psychiatric disorders, or if you have a family history of those things. A lot of people will find out after the fact, like, they'll be talking to a parent or a sibling or an aunt or something, like, oh yeah, no, I had really bad postpartum depression. In fact, like, it never went away because I never got treatment for it. And it wasn't until, you were in high school that I finally started medication. And it's like, what? Really? Like, and we don't talk about it. We have this rule that we're not supposed to talk about mental health. So the first 2 weeks is pretty much considered normal for feeling overwhelming anxiety and depression waves with postpartum. It's not technically diagnosable until after 2 weeks. And some people will even argue even after 6 weeks, but especially those first 2 weeks. So I say that it's important to know and like have it in your gut, like, okay, this is normal. We're probably going to get through this. The only time I would say within those first 2 weeks, you definitely need to 100% reach out to professional help, as if you're having thoughts of suicide or self-harm. But to just know that, like, it's not forever. You're going to get through it. And if it doesn't seem to ease up or be something you can stay on top of, that help is available, treatment is available, and you are going to get through it. So with, once you're out of that 2 to 6 week period of adjustment, it actually, postpartum mood and anxiety disorders can hit anywhere in the first year. So this is surprising for a lot of people, because they might have a really good early postpartum period, and then, they maybe it might be going back to work. That transition can trigger mood and anxiety issues. It could be it seems like kind of like out of the blue, and baby's a year old, but at any time within that first year, it can be postpartum triggered. Sometimes weaning can, that lactation hormone shift can trigger an anxiety or depression episode. So, and not enough primary care OBs are like well versed in postpartum mood and anxiety disorders to like actually recognize that, like, oh, you're fine, your baby's a year old, it's not postpartum. It is. And there's help and treatment for it. So to just keep that in mind and advocate for yourself if you do feel like you need support. So many of the self-care things that Shakisha mentioned are like on the list of things that are proven to help treat mood and anxiety disorders. So meditation, even using things like essential oils, you know, there's been a lot of alternative research in aromatherapies, like how those things, yoga, meditation, are all helpful in keeping those mood and anxiety symptoms at bay. But what I don't think enough people realize is that when you become a parent for the first time, there is an actual literal shift in how your brain works. There is a observable, measurable change in activity in your brain. And it's for a good reason. The hyper arousal safety protective factors in your brain are turned on so that your offspring can survive. So it's your brain is trying to be helpful. You know, it's trying to, like, okay, you know, be extra cautious about, you know, the mountain lion that might swoop upon the village and chase after you and devour your baby. Like, and so it's like, cool, thanks for trying to help out, but I'm pretty sure that being home in my house were probably cool. Thanks. So a lot of parents will experience anxiety for the very first time, and it's not always, you know, we talk a lot about postpartum depression, but I'd say the postpartum anxiety is way more common, and we just don't label it and realize it, and we keep it to ourselves than even the depression, because people will say, oh, I'm not sad. You know, I haven't been crying. It's like, yeah, but you know, you're having visual flashes in your mind about stabbing your baby with a knife because your brain is trying to tell you, like, beware of sharp things. It's like, oh my gosh, how did you know that I'm having those experiences? It's like, yeah, because it's common to, like, imagine dropping your baby down the stairs. You're not actually going to do it. You're not at risk to do that behavior. Your brain is telling you, like, ooh, there's a safety concern. Let's keep this baby safe so your offspring can survive. And I've had a lot of mamas, you know, as we're talking about managing anxiety, be like, oh my gosh, like, I thought I was going crazy. Like, that's really happening. I'm, like, seeing these flashes in my mind, or just having this, like, gut-wrenching anxiety of, like, this thing that could hurt my baby that's, like, totally irrational, and I just don't know what to do with it. So recognizing that your brain has changed and is trying to protect you and your baby can help to bring some non-judgment and some and keep you from getting caught in a fear spiral of, like, oh my gosh, I'm having these thoughts, I must be a terrible mother, who would think that way? Or, like, you know, being able to say, like, okay, thank you, brain, for trying to keep us safe, but I'm pretty sure, you know, we're going to hold on to the railing and we're going to be fine walking down the stairs, instead of living in a perpetual state of anxiety and fear. So I know that's kind of scary, like, oh my gosh, that might happen. But there's also a lot of good things about that brain functioning too. Like, it's going to help you stay on top of, you know, if and when you're ready to leave the house. Like, okay, what are we going to need while we're out there? We might need, we're going to need diapers. We're going to need a backup outfit. We're going to need, you know, to be able to feed. I should bring my nursing pillow with me. Like, so that heightened level of needing to prepare is helpful. For some people, it goes overboard and it goes higher than is manageable. So if you get to the point postpartum where you're feeling like you're overwhelmed, you can't, like, you can't tread water anymore, you know, starting by reaching out to that support team that you've already, you know, determined. And it doesn't have to be in the first month or the second month. It can be when your baby's 1. It can be 9 months old. It can hit at any time. That support team doesn't just have to be for the first 2 months when your nights are sleepless and you're exhausted. It can be whenever you need it. And to activate that team. And if you are getting that support or you don't have access to that support, to be willing to reach out for additional help. One of the resources I want to make sure you guys leave here with is Postpartum Support International. It is an international group of professionals that Before Village is a member of, who are very specifically trained in postpartum mood and anxiety disorders. And they have a warm line, so you can call and someone will get back to you. It's usually a licensed mental health professional can get back to you, within a day or two. It's not a hotline, so that it's not staffed 24/7. But just to be able to check in with somebody about, hey, this is what I'm experiencing. Is it normal? Should I, do I need help? They have a directory of therapists who are trained and certified in postpartum mood and anxiety disorders. They have virtual support groups in multiple languages. They have a support group just for dads. They have a whole bunch of different options. So if, let's say Before Village doesn't fit into your schedule, or you want to find a local provider that you might be able to actually see in office in your area, they're a really great resource for that. And also too, if you're not getting the response that you want from your OB or midwife or pediatrician or primary care doctor, they're a great resource to find somebody who is going to listen and who is going to hear you. Because if you feel like things are not okay, you're probably right. And having extra support never hurt anybody. It breaks my heart to hear of, when mamas finally get to me, whether it's through a group or a workshop, or when they're finally trying to claw their way out of a depression hole, and, their kid is 2 now. It's just like, I said something to my doctor and they're like, oh, you're probably fine. And I just listened. I believed them, but I really wasn't okay. So if you in your gut think that things are not okay, then listen, don't stop talking about it until you find somebody who's going to say, you know what, you're right. Because there is treatment, there is care, and you're not alone. It is so common of a parenthood experience to, and even like as a family therapist, I'll do a family history with clients, and they're bringing their 8-year-old in for play therapy to see me, but the 8-year-old's anxious because the mom's been anxious since that 8-year-old was first born, when her postpartum anxiety was triggered, or because he was a medically fragile kid and had a NICU stay, and that mom has never stopped being anxious, and that anxiety has permeated the whole family for 8 years, and they're now just getting help because they're noticing the symptoms in their kid. Like, that is the heart of why we founded Before Village, because I got really sick and tired of seeing problems that were preventable if somebody had just listened to this mama and held her hand and told her that this was, what you experienced was not okay, and we can talk about it and process it and give you the tools that you need to get through this. So that's my soapbox that I could go into more and more and more. It's so important to just know, and because I think there's this fantasy, this Instagram fantasy, this even just before that, there's this, we have this like June Cleaver 1950s like, oh, it's going to be perfect, and I'm just going to, everything's going to be fine and wonderful. But even when parenting is easy, even if you have a good sleeper, even if you have, a baby who doesn't have colic, or you have a really easy breastfeeding journey and breastfeeding comes easy and naturally, and there doesn't seem to be any problems. Even when it's easy, it's not easy. That it's to just get that in your head, that it's gonna be hard. It's a huge transition, and it's okay. Having it be hard and having it take effort doesn't mean that you're not good at it. It is hard, and it is work, and it's okay to ask for help and need help. One of the things you had in your list of affirmations was that I'm a great mother. And I hate that phrase, honestly. to me, it's like, I'm a perfect mother. That's what we say. We're like, oh, I'm a great mom. The word that we really mean is perfect. That, oh yeah, I'm perfect. And that we get so caught up mentally in being a perfect parent. The phrase I like to use instead is good enough, because there is no perfect parent. That you just, there is no perfect. You can't get it right 100% of the time. And the brain research shows us that it's not about getting it right more often than not. That parents of well-adjusted children and of poorly adjusted children still get it right and wrong the same percentage of the time. The most important thing is going back and repairing when you screw it up, because you're gonna screw it up. It's gonna happen. You're gonna knock over the bottle of breast milk and have to give a formula feed, for, even though you wanted so badly to only have breast milk touch your baby's body. You're gonna the baby's gonna wake up and start crying in the middle of the shower, and you have to choose between being soaping wet or taking those 5 minutes to feel like a human being. Like, life is gonna happen. It's never gonna be perfect, and that's okay. Being good enough is good enough. Then I'm gonna end on that note, I think, and I want to open it up for any questions that you might have about either mental health, or if you feel like sharing a fear or a concern that you might be struggling with about what postpartum life is going to be looking like. I'm happy to hear that. I'm also I am doing virtual sessions right now, although it's not really a great time for me to be taking on new clients. I'm due end of November, beginning of December, but I do have we do have a few other therapists who work with us who do have openings. So you're welcome to, Molly@b4village.org. You're welcome to shoot me an email, even just to make a point of connection ahead of delivery. And again, it's just psi.org, Postpartum Support International. They are a really phenomenal resource for all things postpartum mental health.
All right. Well, thank you, Molly, for that. I think that was so profound, and the information is very, very important for postpartum moms. I would like to open the floor for questions. If anyone has questions for Molly, you can ask her.
I think we're good here, but do want to say thank you so much. We're definitely going to check out your website and
Awesome.
see what classes or groups might be helpful for us. So appreciate it very much.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And there's a lot that's not easily sign upable, but that's like not listed. But my partner Karen is doing either virtual or live, one-on-one, in person, like childbirth education classes, preparing for your newborn care, preparing to breastfeed. She is offering those classes either virtually or in one-on-one in person, because we're not doing any group in-person stuff at the moment because of COVID. But if you need those kind of classes as well. She also can do like a birth refresher if you're just to kind of like regroup and get ready for birth again, Amanda, for just to kind of get jog your memory of like all of those labor tools that you wish you hadn't forgotten last time. Yeah. So there's don't be afraid to reach out and ask if there's something, if you feel like you have a need that isn't on our list.
Awesome.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, everybody, for joining to this event. If you don't have any more questions, did you want to say anything, Amanda?
Just wanted to say thanks. Really appreciate it, ladies. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining. So we're going to be doing, just so you know, we're going to be doing events similar to this with Labor of Love Maternity Solutions. We are going to be doing topical events once per month. So if you have any more topics or any other concerns that you have about pregnancy, postpartum, you could reach out also to laboroflovematernity.com and see which events, if those categories fit your particular needs at the time. So this is not the first event. There will be more. And I just thank you so much for tuning in. Did you want
Yeah.
to?
Oh, I want to add too that we do have a lot of one-off workshops that's on my this weekend. I have to schedule for September and October. We offer like a cloth diapering workshop. We do baby-led weaning. So we have a lot of other kind of like one-off workshops that we do that aren't regular classes, and baby wearing, and trying to think of what else. So much. We offer an infant massage class as well, which is really fun. So yeah, please check
Awesome.
this out.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Molly, for tuning in and giving your wisdom and information.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Hi. I was over there throwing heart bombs at him through the hello, guys. I appreciate you guys, and I thank you so much, and I hope to see you at other events. You guys have a wonderful rest of your Saturday, and thank you so much. I'll see you another time. Bye, guys.
Well,
Bye.
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.